What is happening, sports fans? It's your man, Matt from the DFS 5-pack. I am rocking it solo. It is Sunday, April 10th. We got 10 MLB games to talk over. First big Sunday slate of the year. I love these Sunday slates, so excited to talk this out with you guys. Excuse me. Before I get into the baseball, I'm going to shout out our promoters, ABC Islands. I'm going to have the link and the promo code in the description section of the video. Check it out. I encourage everyone to do so. We've had a bunch of people sign up and win so far. So, again, Patriot and I are going to be on here making more betting content in the next coming weeks or so. He's still getting back acclimated to work with the new baby. I got a bunch of stuff going on as well. So, yeah, we'll be on here hopefully next week making some betting content. In the meantime, check out the link in the description section. And let's get after it, guys. 10 games to talk over. I'm just going to make one video, members only for the public. And then tomorrow, get back into it with the members-only video and the public video. I figured since it's the first big slate of the season, why not share the wealth a little bit? So let me screen share this, and we'll be on our way. All right, should be good to go. So pitching options, Peralta's getting a lot of love. Looks like Peralta and Kluber are the highest owned pitchers on the slate by Peralta. Looks like Kluber, Eflin, Peralta, and Match are the guys getting a lot of love. So Peralta looks good here. I don't think too highly of the Cubs. He wasn't dominant in spring. I'm not excited about Peralta here. I think he's fine if you want to play him. Stroh, we know who Stroh is. We've read this book before. He's a much better real life pitcher than he is DFS pitcher. I can't get there personally at 9.9. Not overly interested, not interested at all in Milwaukee bats, though. Ian Anderson, he left with a blister on his toe last start of the spring. I'm fine with him. I don't really see the upside at 9.7, especially with these guys being capped a little bit. All starters went through a shorter spring, so makes me hesitant to spend up on pitchers unless I feel really good about them. Cal Quantrill, no. I'm not going to Quantrill. I don't think I like Kansas City as much as the field does, but I don't want to spend $9,400 on Quantrill, really. Ryu, this isn't the same Texas lineup of old. They added Seager and Semien, a couple other pieces. That said, it's still a pretty good matchup. Ryu is my favorite pitcher we've talked about so far. That said, I don't love him here. Hunter Green, big time prospect, not the spot I really want to use him. $9K, you're not getting any sort of discount. Guy I do have a lot of interest in is Tariq Skubal. I know it's a bad matchup. White Sox are awesome against lefties. I'm really, really high on Skubal. He was awesome in the spring. It's risky for sure. For making one lineup, I personally will go there. I could understand why anyone would not go there. And let me reiterate, I am not a cash game player. I just really like his stuff. I'm really, really high on Skubal this year. Maybe I'm a little bit too bashful, considering he's 8,700 in a tough matchup against the White Sox, but he will get no love. I like him here, especially considering I don't really have a great feel on too many of the other pitching options today. Bailey Ober, I don't know. I think I could see the case for using Ober. I could also definitely see the case for using Seattle bats. Cookie Carrasco, I think his best days are behind him. I'm not really looking at him at 8,100 here. Marco, solid, if not spectacular. DK is not really discounting many of these guys. We're going to get to a couple here. At 7,900, I'm not overly interested in Marco. You could definitely do worse, though. I doubt he gets lit up here. Eflin, really short string. He's getting a lot of love because of the matchup against Oakland. I'm not really buying it. Only let me see. He just didn't pitch a lot during the spring. I was trying to find exact numbers that they were on here. Let's see if I can find it real quick. He didn't pitch a lot this spring, so that worries me. I know people want to pick on Oakland, and I get that. I probably won't go to Eflin. Kluber getting a lot of love. He was okay in the spring. good matchup at home against Baltimore. I don't think he goes too deep, but he's cheaper than a lot of the. I mean, he's obviously cheaper than everyone we've talked about so far. 7,400, don't mind it at all. Matt's getting decent love. It makes sense. I mean, at home against Pittsburgh, making his Cardinals debut. I think Matz looks really good on paper. If I were making a bunch of lineups, I would probably have some Pirate stacks against him. But on paper, I think Matz is the play. Bubich, I think Cleveland is worth looking at for sure. But, man, Cleveland has also been awful to start the season. So, like a chalky Cleveland, I could definitely see going contrarian and using Bubich against them. He's cheap also. That said, I think Cleveland started to get going late yesterday. I have more faith in them than I do Bubich here. Fetty against the Mets, no thanks. I think the Mets are obviously in play. They're getting a lot of love. And then Bryce Wilson, nah. Just nah. So if I'm making one lineup right now, I mean, Scooble's in it for sure. And then I don't really love anyone else, like I mentioned. I mentioned I like Ryu. I could get on board with Ryu. I could get on board with Matz. I think Matz is going to be way overowned, though. So kind of would like to get away from him. I mean, not that it matters too much. I think Scooble's very low. But let's just say I have this going Ryu right now. All right, let's talk over some bats. Most lineups are out. I think Perez is probably the chalk catcher today. He's only 4,600. KC is getting love. Looks like he's going to be one of the most popular hitters on the slate. In cash games, I think he's where you want to go. In tournaments, I'm kind of digging on Oakland, especially with Eflin getting a lot of love. I don't think Eflin's that good. I don't think he goes that deep in this game at all, even if you think he's good. Philly bullpen is never good. Oakland, contrarian GPP stack. Sean Murphy in the 3 spot. I like him quite a bit. You've got Gary Sanchez in the lineup today hitting 7th. He obviously looks good. I'm sure he'll pick up some ownership. Yeah, I think in cash games, it's definitely Salvi. Garver's a nice contrarian pivot especially if you're not using Ryu. And I like the idea of Sean Murphy in tournaments because I like that Oakland stack. First base, Vlad looks really good here. Toronto looks good overall, I think, facing one of the weaker pitchers on the slate and Spencer Howard. A lot to like about Vlad here. Matt Olson, I think he's solid. It's going to be Brave stack or as a one-off. Like him quite a bit. Philly, I like both sides of this game. So first base is loaded here. Rhys Hoskins, he homered yesterday, so he looks good. He looks good to start the season. So I think he's a solid look at 5K. Tampa's in a good spot at home against Baltimore and their bullpen. I think it's Ty Wells and Tyler Wells, and then I don't know who's coming in after him. I think it's Bauman. So, I mean, obviously Tampa's in a good spot here. I think you could get definitely different with it and rock with Baltimore if Kluber's going to be really, really chalky. KC, it looks good because of their prices. Carlos Santana in the 5-hole at 3,100 looks good. McKinney at 2,500. I wish there were good pitching to spend up on. Just not really there. Although you can use some cheap bats and then fill out elsewhere. I guess at first, Vlad is the top option, I think. A bunch of good options, though. Alonso hit a grand slam last night. Didn't even mention him. Looks really good in a Met stack. He's very, very affordable. I think you're going to see ownership spread out at first base. So just play who you want, I would say, in all formats. All right, second base. Looks like Cano is coming in as the chalk again. In the 3-hole at 2,400, he makes all the sense in the world in cash games. In tournaments, if you're stacking the Mets, it's probably where I'd go. Well, I mean, I'd definitely have some exposure there. All these top guys are going to be contrarian options. Simeon, I like Ryu, but if you want to use Simeon, back in Toronto, leading off, I get it. Brandon Lau, same thing. I like Segura in the Philly stack. I like Tony Kemp in the Oakland stack leading off. So, yeah, I'm digging Oakland in tournaments. And you can really use who you want, whoever you want with them. You could pair Toronto with them pretty easily, Philly as well. So that's how I see it as of now. Third base, J-Ram looks really good. He actually is coming in as the highest owned third baseman. Both third basemen in this game are getting a lot of love. J-Ram at 53, and then Bobby Witt at 2,100. I mean, he makes them. I think you just use one of these two guys in cash games as your third baseman, just depending on how much you want to spend, where else you want to spend up, et cetera, et cetera. I like Matt Chapman in the sixth hole for Toronto in tournaments. I think he probably gets left behind a little bit. Arenado's a nice pivot off of a supposedly or presumably really chalky J-Ram. Man, Arenado coming in at like 2% owned, J-Ram at 22% owned. That's intriguing for sure. So just worth calling out. Kevin Smith in seventh for Oakland at 2,400, if you need it. And then Bryson Stott in the sixth hole at 2,100. He's not going to get nearly the love that a guy like Witt's going to get. So, definitely worth considering the pivot in tournaments if you're looking for a cheap guy there. All right, shortstop. Bo Bichette looks like the top option here at 5,600. If you don't like Skubal like I do, Tim Anderson is always in play, especially against left-handed pitching. Shortstop looks loaded here. Carlos Correa. I don't love picking on Marco Gonzalez, but I don't hate it either. So in the 2-hole at 52, doubt he gets much love, especially compared to a guy like Lindor, 4,400 hitting second. I think it's him and Bichette are the two guys you're looking at in cash games. With everyone around them in play in tournaments. Elvis Andrus in the 2-hole. Shortstop's pretty top heavy here. So I like all the top guys, and then I like Andrus in the Oakland stack. It's not like I specifically love Andrus here. I just like the Oakland stack in tournaments. Hence, that's really the problem with Oakland. They don't have great hitters. So as much as I want to be really excited about them, it's hard to be because they're not good. Just an ownership play, really. All right, outfield. Looks like Starling, he's not in the lineup today. He is out of the lineups. Let me see one thing. Looks like Franmil Reyes is coming in as the highest owned outfielder on the slate. Nobody makes sense. Tons of power against left-handed pitching, especially against left-handed pitching, I should say. Really, really affordable at 4,100. When you read the weather reports on this slate, you see that this game has probably the best hitting weather of the day. Winds are out to left. Temperatures are in the 70s. So, yeah, there's a lot to like about both sides of this game. I'm afraid ownership's going to be really high, but it just kind of is what it is. I doubt it gets too high on the Cleveland side. I think the KC side gets more love for sure, outside of guys like Reyes and Ramirez. All these top guys are always in play if you're stacking their teams, if you want to use them as one-offs, Outfield's loaded as always. I like Bryce Harper a lot here. I like Soto a lot. I like Buxton. I mean, all these top guys are always in play. Outfield's loaded. I think the priorities in cash games are Franmil Reyes. Looks like George Springer's getting a good amount of love, so he looks good. Buxton looks good. I mean, Harper looks good. All these guys are going to get love, kind of like first base. I think you just plant your flag on whoever you like here. Talked about St. Louis not getting much love at all. That's intriguing. Eddie Rosario leading off at 4,100. Yeah, solid cock type. Getting a good amount of love, and it makes sense. Brandon Nimmo, who's been rock solid, leading off again, 3,900. I mean, kind of like Rosario, both those guys getting love. I think Nimmo's a solid looking cash games for sure. Talked about Oakland, Seth Brown, Benintendi in the 3-hole at 3,700. Looks great. Josh Lowe hitting sixth at 2,600, especially if you're stacking Tampa. I mean, there's cheap hitters all over the place, so there's just really cheap guys at every position. I mean, talk about at third base with Witt and Stott. Yeah, obviously outfield is always top heavy, but it's also a spot where you can also get really good cheap value. So I think in cash games, it's probably Reyes and Nimmo, and then kind of whoever you want to pair with them, depending on what you do at third base, whether you go Witt or whether you go J-Ram. That will depend on that last outfield spot will depend on what you do at third base. So that's what I got for you guys. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I love these MLB slates. First big Sunday slate of the season, first slate with double-digit games. So let's get after it today. I'm around if you have any questions. If you want more info, more content, more videos, more write-ups, any of that stuff, go check out the DFS 5-pack. We'd love to have you. Appreciate you guys as always. Catch you on the flip side tomorrow.